my favorite GNOME tweaks for a better Linux experience. Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, we talk all things Linux, open source, and getting the most out of your desktop experience. Today, we're diving into something I genuinely enjoy, customizing GNOME. Now, GNOME is one of the most polished desktop environments available on Linux right now. It looks great out of the box, it's smooth, and for anyone transitioning from Windows or Mac OS, it honestly feels pretty familiar. But here's the thing. Good out of the box doesn't mean it can't be better. And that's exactly what Linux is all about, right? Making things your own. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through 5 tweaks I personally apply every time I set up a GNOME-based system. These aren't radical changes that'll make your desktop unrecognizable. They're smart, practical improvements that just make daily use a whole lot more comfortable. Let's get into it. Number 1, GNOME Tweaks app. All right, first things first, before you can do most of what I'm about to show you, you'll want to install an app called GNOME Tweaks. Think of it as the control panel that GNOME should have built in from the start. The regular settings app is fine for everyday stuff, but GNOME Tweaks unlocks a whole layer of options that aren't exposed anywhere else. Things like changing fonts system-wide, adjusting title bar button placement, switching themes, managing startup applications, and a whole lot more. To install it, just open your terminal and run sudo apt-install gnome-tweaks. Or if you're on Fedora, sudo dnf install gnome-tweaks. Once installed, open it up and spend a few minutes just clicking around. You'll quickly realize how many little things you can adjust that GNOME just hides by default. It's one of those tools that, once you use it, you can't imagine going without. Number 2, terminal keyboard shortcut. Here's something that surprises a lot of people new to GNOME. There's no default keyboard shortcut to open the terminal. On most other desktop environments, hitting something like Ctrl-Alt-T just works. On GNOME, you have to set it up yourself. Fortunately, it only takes about 30 seconds to fix. Open your settings, navigate to keyboard, scroll down to keyboard shortcuts, and then look for the option to add a custom shortcut. Here, you'll give it a name, something like Open Terminal, then point it to your terminal app. If you're on Ubuntu, that's usually GNOME Terminal. On Fedora, it might be KGX or GNOME Console. Then assign your shortcut. I always use Ctrl-Alt-T because it's the standard most people are already used to. While you're in there, you can also think about other apps you open constantly. Maybe Ctrl-Alt-B for your browser, or another combination for your file manager. Setting these up early saves a surprising amount of time in the long run. Dash to panel extension. Okay, this one is probably my personal favorite tweak of the bunch. By default, GNOME puts its app launcher, the dash, on the left side of the screen inside the activities overlay. Some people love that workflow. Personally, I find it a bit inconvenient. Enter Dash to Panel, a free community-built GNOME shell extension that transforms your desktop into something much more traditional. What it does is combine the top bar and the dash into a single unified taskbar, similar to what you'd find in Windows or earlier versions of GNOME itself. You get a proper taskbar with running app tabs, a system tray, a clock, and a launcher button, all in one clean bar. It's lightweight, it's highly configurable, and it just makes navigating your desktop feel more intuitive if you're the kind of person who bounces between multiple applications throughout the day. To install it, head over to extensions.gnome.org in your browser. Search for Dash to Panel and toggle it on. You may need to install the GNOME Shell Browser Integration extension first. There'll be a prompt that guides you through it if you haven't done that yet. Caffeine extension. This next one is simple but genuinely useful, especially if you're someone who presents, watches long videos, or just doesn't want your screen going dark every 10 minutes while you're reading. The extension is called Caffeine, and all it does is give you a quick toggle to prevent your system from sleeping or activating the screensaver. Once installed, it adds a small icon to your top bar. Click it to enable, your system stays awake. Click it again to disable. Normal sleep behavior returns. That's it. No digging through power settings, no temporarily changing your screensaver timeout and forgetting to change it back. Just a quick, accessible toggle right where you can see it. You can install Caffeine the same way as Dash to Panel, through the GNOME Extensions website, or via the command line using your package manager, depending on your distro. Enabling zRAM. All right, last one. And this one is a little more under the hood, but it's worth understanding. It's called zRAM. Here's the concept in plain English. When your system runs low on available RAM, Linux normally starts writing data to your storage drive using something called swap space. The problem is, even with a fast SSD, that process is noticeably slower than actual RAM. zRAM solves this by creating a compressed block of memory that acts like swap, but it all happens within your RAM itself, which is dramatically faster. The practical result? Your system stays more responsive when you're running heavy workloads. Lots of browser tabs, video editing software, virtual machines, that kind of thing. You'll notice fewer stutters and a more consistent feel overall. On many modern distros, like Ubuntu and Fedora, zRAM is either already enabled or very easy to set up. On Ubuntu, you can check by running cat/proc/swaps. If you see a zRAM device listed there, you're already good. If not, there are simple scripts and packages that can get it running in minutes. I'll leave some links in the description below. As a bonus, zRAM also reduces how often your system writes to your SSD, which over time can help extend the lifespan of your storage. Something worth thinking about, especially on laptops where replacing soldered components isn't an option. And that's it. 5 tweaks that I genuinely use on every GNOME setup I build. None of these require you to break anything, none of them take more than a few minutes, and together they make a real, noticeable difference in how comfortable and efficient your daily workflow feels.
Thanks for watching, and I will see you in tomorrow's video. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe for daily videos. Bye.